piano is finally finished. Now, it's truly time to move on to the magnificent violin. Just like with the grand piano, where you clearly saw that we meticulously made it out of sturdy cardboard, the beautiful violin is also going to be carefully crafted from precisely the same versatile material. That is to say, it's definitely going to be made entirely out of durable cardboard. We're going to make a very small-sized violin, not a viola, not a cello, and not a double bass, because those are really big and making them is almost impossible. The amount of cardboard you'd need is a lot, plus the bow, the strings, and all that are much more. Both the strings on the body and the bow itself, which making it is a whole process in itself, 2 or 3 parts. What I hope we can make is a tiny, tiny violin, the smallest size, which is about 30 or 50 centimeters, something like that. For that, you don't need much cardboard since it's small, and you can make it with just a few pieces of cardboard. It's better if the lower body is about 50 to 60 centimeters, and for the upper part, just like that. But something you need to pay attention to is that the upper body has a slope compared to the lower body. From the bottom of the violin to the top, there's a slope you need to follow. If you don't, it'll end up looking like a useless body, and then it's no good at all. You have to pay attention to this. For the bow, you can use thread or, I don't know, wire. Or something similar, string, thread, or whatever you can use for the bow, that will work. With cardboard, it's not a hard instrument to make. You just need to shape the ends, and that's it. To start, we need a piece of cardboard. Of course, we don't know about this part, but we have a big piece for this section. It's about 30 centimeters by 60 centimeters, I think. You need to draw the body of the violin on the cardboard itself. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you should try to make it in one piece if possible. It's much better if your cardboard is in one piece because mine was broken in the middle, but it's not a big deal. Still, one piece is better. I skipped that part. The thinner the material, the better it will work for the instrument. That's it for that part. Now, a list will appear on the side. I've written a list of the things we need to do. It's a piano. It's really, really customized. Very much just like this. We put it together ourselves from here and there. Everything, even the keys. I said this so I could build a bit of a simulator, so it would be a bit more proper. So it would look like that one, but not be exactly that. So, make sure to follow what I just said. Now, our instrument is complete. Now this box is it's a pot box. This part is here too. The box is from the pots box. Now, I've carefully taken it and I am actively using it for something entirely different. And then, these particular parts underneath, this is indeed the violin's fundamental base, meaning it is the very bottom part, which essentially goes like this. Now we'll also make the handrest and all those parts. The bow actually comes in this particular manner, and in fact, I apologize, it truly goes in this specific way. The chin rest goes here. The strings themselves also go here. The sides of the violin. On top of the violin. And the tuning part should be completed. One particular day we actually did this. We carefully made the entire bottom part of the violin piece by piece. Of course, you're watching this in one video now, but actually it took several days. One day we made this, the bottom part of the violin. Today, what we want to make are the sides of the violin. Let me just explain a bit about the sides of the violin. Look here. From this part, it's wide, meaning it's thick. The higher it goes, it's just like a pyramid. Like the pyramids of Egypt. It gets narrower and narrower. It becomes thinner. You need to make sure to pay attention to this. Now let me explain exactly how we're going to make it. So you'll know, in case you want to make it yourself, you'll know what you need to do. For example, we take this part, these sides of the violin. For instance, we can begin from down here, let's say at a precise measurement of 5 centimeters. As we carefully move along this path, there is a noticeable and distinct curve present right here. So from here, it's 5 centimeters toward the center of the violin. I'm explaining in a lot of detail. Toward the center of the violin, 5 centimeters becomes 6 centimeters. It doesn't go beyond that. This middle part of the violin is bulkier. As you move toward the center, it becomes 6 centimeters. From this center to this part where the violin is tuned. It gets thinner. Here the width becomes 5 centimeters. Here, the width is more substantial and pronounced. In this particular section of the instrument, it can be, for example, approximately 6 or even 7 full centimeters wide, providing a significant dimension. As we meticulously move along this curve, here it gradually and noticeably becomes 5 centimeters, then further narrows quite distinctly to 4 centimeters, subsequently reducing to 3 centimeters, and finally reaching a very slender 2 centimeters. So in this specific area, it progressively gets much narrower and more constricted. It becomes significantly smaller in its overall dimension and physical presence. Therefore, you would typically begin your measurement or observation from this precise point, Nasrin. Now, considering the central part of this structure, it measures about 5 centimeters, approximately 5 full centimeters towards the very middle, and then expands quite gracefully to 6 or 7 centimeters in other adjacent sections. Here, I find this particular dimension and proportion pleasing and aesthetically agreeable. Here, in this specific spot, it's precisely 4 centimeters, then a slightly reduced 3 centimeters. It consistently continues to get narrower and more slender as we carefully proceed along its form. This entire structure represents the main body of the violin, but we have designed and meticulously crafted it with a distinctly rounded contour. Actually, in its traditional and authentic form, it ideally shouldn't possess a prominent belly. It should maintain a much flatter and more streamlined profile. However, due to the specific way the lines were drawn and the intricate curves were implemented during its initial creation, it ultimately took on this particular rounded and somewhat bulging appearance. The more you progress towards this specific region of the instrument, the more detrimental and adverse the effect on the overall sound quality becomes, and consequently, the less playable and responsive the instrument becomes for the discerning musician. Conversely, the more you move towards this other distinct section, the worse the sound quality tends to get, making it increasingly difficult and considerably less enjoyable to play with precision and expression. Furthermore, as you continue to advance towards this third distinct area, the sound quality deteriorates even further and more noticeably, rendering the instrument even less playable and less responsive to the musician's touch. And finally, the more you extend into this fourth and final region, the sound quality reaches its absolute lowest point, making the violin exceptionally challenging, unrewarding, and difficult to play effectively.
Let's carefully observe and discover what truly happens to the ultimate fate of our precious, handcrafted, and deeply resonant violin as its journey unfolds before our very eyes, revealing its destiny in this captivating narrative.